Hey music teachers, if your band, choir, or orchestra is suffering from poor intonation and you're not sure how to help, then you've come to the right place. This is the first installment in our Intonation 101 series dedicated to helping students achieve their best possible intonation. Step one is characteristic tone quality, and I don't even start discussing intonation with my students until they can more or less all demonstrate a solid tone quality. So in this video, I will take you through everything that I do with my beginners to ensure they get off to a good start with tone quality. And then I'll talk about some fun ways to incorporate tone quality study into your lessons and rehearsals with older students who might need help too. With my beginners, I always spend the first several lessons. And for me, I started beginners in the summertime, so that looked like a week solid of lessons. For you, it might be different. But we would spend the first several on the mouthpiece only. If you're a string teacher, that might mean when you start with your bow, you're working on this. Or if you're a vocal teacher, maybe it looks like spending several lessons on vowels only and not learning any music. And you might think that sounds really boring for the kids, but it's not, because it's about experimentation, and experimentation is fun. So once students can all make a basic sound, then we experiment. What happens if you roll your head joint out farther? What happens if you pull your lips like this more when you're buzzing? What happens if you press down harder? What happens if you use less pressure? What happens if you drop your jaw? And I ask the students to describe what is happening with their sound when they're doing that. And the reason this is important is because it gets them listening to the kind of sound that they are making instead of just, hey, I made a sound. They need to be listening for the quality of the tone. The students then start to gain the idea that they can control how they sound by what they're doing with their face and their breath and their throat. And then when you say, hey, John, your sound is sounding a little pinchy, let's try and open it up a little bit, then they go, oh yeah, I can do that. Then when students can make all these different sounds, including the bad and the good ones, then you can start talking about long tones. And when you're doing the long tone, you want to shoot for that most centered sound, and you can use that opportunity to talk about breath support. And we spend so many minutes doing long tone studies, but the listening part is the most important. And believe me when I tell you, all the long tone studies in the world will not help if they do not do the listening piece, because if they're just playing a long tone and not listening for how it sounds, it doesn't matter. So here are some long tone exercises that I do with my students in lessons. They're really great for sectionals if you are lucky enough to have sectionals, and as brain breaks and rehearsals or as part of a warm-up series. There are a few of them that I do. Number one is a long tone contest, and this works great for talking about controlling the quality and quantity of air that students are using. So how long can you hold that tone and make it good? And students can do this all at once. It works really great in instrument-alike sections or voice-alike sections too. Another one is round the room. So again, this will work great in small sections, and I don't recommend if you have 80 people in your room doing everybody all at once, but you can kind of cycle through the sections every day. You go through and you're going to set a metronome, and every student, if they're younger, maybe 4 counts. If they're older, they can do 8 counts or more. And you're going to go down the line of students, and they hold their long tone for however many counts, and then you go straight to the next student, and they try to match that quality as they go down so that it sounds like one long note being played. And finally, the last game that I like to play is just a simple adding in game. So you have one player in a section start, and it works great if you have the person who has the most kind of characteristic tone start, and then after a few beats, the next person joins in. And then after a few beats, the next person joins in, and the previous people can breathe as they need to. But the point of this is to try and get it to sound like nobody was just adding in. Everything's getting a little bit louder, but the tone does not change. And so this forces students to listen for fitting inside the previous tone quality that they're hearing. There are a ton of variants on games that you can play and be creative with, but the point of it is that every day when they come in and they sing or play, they are thinking about what the sound sounds like that is coming out of them instead of just bleh. If you're wondering what can I do tomorrow that's going to help start my journey on improving our intonation, the number one thing I would say is start incorporating some tone quality exercises into your lessons and rehearsals, and make sure students are starting to think about their own sound and how that fits in with those around them. That's it for this week. Join us next week when we continue on our Intonation 101 series with talking about pitch flexibility. Catch you next time.